This is my bold prediction. I haven't made this prediction yet,
Okay.
but I think he might break the rushing record this year. This is who I consider the best running back in the league. I've been watching him since Wisconsin. I truly believe if he would have played 3 or 4 more games at Wisconsin, I believe if the NIL stuff started coming into college. Luckily, it came at, not luckily, but it came after he had left college. But if it was in place, this dude probably would have been statistically the best running back of all time. And everybody knows Jonathan Taylor's name right now. And I've seen people flip flop it, especially on today. I've seen people flip flop, Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor.
I think there's a number 3 that no one talks about.
Who's the number 3?
Nick Chubb.
Nick Chubb. I love Nick Chubb.
He has never had the same amount of carries or around the amount of carries that Jonathan Taylor and Henry had. Yet he averages like 8.3 yards per carry throughout his career, which is wild. I believe if he had around the same touches as JT and Derrick Henry, I think he could have similar numbers, if not better, for how, what's the word I'm looking for? Efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think of that? Do you think that's a little far-fetched or?
No, I mean, I love Nick Chubb. I really have no problems with him, other than just the fact that, he battles his injuries here and there. I just think Jonathan Taylor, he's my number 1 running back. And like I said, I've seen people flip Derrick Henry and now Jonathan Taylor's number 1 on their list. And I don't know why, but maybe some people are just starting to see the love that you start to see the talent that Jonathan Taylor has. He's not bad at anything. And that's very hard to find in players that are just all around good. He can catch, he can obviously run. He has great open field speed. He can block. And most of all, he's just a great human being and a great teammate. I mean, you've seen the comments that he's made about Carson Wentz, even though everybody feels their certain way about Carson Wentz, but he still had his back. He was like, that was my quarterback at the time. I support him. He was a good dude. Even though he might have been a jerk in the locker room, but you would have never known by the way that Jonathan Taylor was talking about him. So do you think he is the best running back in the NFL?
Yeah. I think he's oh my goodness, sorry. I definitely think he has his debates for being number 1, but if you said Henry or if you said Chubb, I wouldn't be mad at you. But the thing that Jonathan Taylor has over both of them is that Taylor can catch the ball in the backfield.
Facts.
And the other two have not really shown that. I get it, running back, a lot of people like to make
That's why they had Kareem Hunt for the Browns.
Yeah, exactly. But receiving has just become such an important part of this game. You have to be able to catch the ball in the backfield. I mean, you could get away with it if you're that good as Henry or Chubb or maybe some other guys, but it's needed nowadays. It's needed.
Yep. And we're talking about that was only his 2nd season. That's, it did take Derrick Henry a couple seasons to get started for him to be the freight train that he was. And he still has his injury issues being such a big guy. Jonathan Taylor's been injured here and there, but it's nothing that he couldn't overcome. And I think that's just, he doesn't have a lot of tread on the tires. I can honestly say that, though. He doesn't have a lot of tread on the tires because you know how Wisconsin was about their running backs. They're going to run you into the ground and they're going to force you to be good. But he's different, man. I think this year we're going to this is my bold prediction. I haven't made this prediction yet.
Okay.
But I think he might break the rushing record this year.
Oh, okay. Okay, so let me tell you why I don't think that's going to happen. Now, I absolutely think it could happen, but I feel if he runs for over 1,900 yards, I feel something went wrong with Matt Ryan. I feel maybe there's an injury. I really think that the Colts want to pass the ball more than did last year. They don't want to be so run-centric. Now, I'm not going to disagree and say, no, he's not capable. As I said, if something goes wrong with Matt Ryan, not playing well, something goes terribly wrong, then I think that's when he runs for that much because Frank Reich just wants to pass the ball a lot more. He even said it in a press conference that he got too run-centric. He didn't want to run the ball that much. So me thinking that, I think there's going to be a lot more shares in the pass game. So I don't know about that, but if he got the carries, if he got the volume and the chance to, I absolutely think he could.
This is the reason why I think he can.
Okay.
I think one of the most underrated receivers when it comes to blocking is Michael Pittman Jr.
Okay.
Out of catching the ball, out of everything that he does, how physical he is, I don't think he gets enough love with.
He's
Which directly relates onto why Jonathan Taylor's going to have success. The guys that have the 2,000-yard seasons, they have really good blocking wide receivers, right? So if I'm looking at the whole package, you know what the offensive line is going to do when they're healthy.
Oh, man, yeah.
Matt Ryan is only going to be a catalyst for how good Jonathan Taylor is going to be, for the simple fact that he's going to be more efficient than Carson is going to be. When you have something like that happening as well, you open up the running game just like the running game opens up the passing game. It's vice versa. It's a two-way street when it comes to this thing. So just by what I've seen Jonathan Taylor already do, he's 2 years in. You know, he's had his lumps and his bumps, and I think this year is the time where it's usually like year 3 or 4 when running backs are like, all right, I'm here to stay. It happened with the Le'Veon Bells. It's happened with Derrick Henry. It's happened with Nick Chubb. Like, this is where they're going to start getting real comfortable. And I think this is, year 3 and 4 of a running back's career once they're already on the upward trajectory. Go look at the history of running backs. This is when they're like, it's like their prime time. Year 3, 4, and 5 are like their prime time. If it's not this year, it might be year 4 where he breaks the rushing record. But I think he's going to do it. I think he's going to do it this year because of all those
factors.
That,
though. I like that. I love it. I love to hear it. I hope he gets. I hope he does. As a Colts fan, I love to see that. But I just think there's going to be, like you said, the pass game does open it up because teams are actually going to have to respect Matt Ryan a lot because of his, he's deadly accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Ryan, the anticipation, you can't slack on Matt Ryan. He's not going to throw it to his left hand. He's going to throw it to his right hand. And that was a big thing that jokes, around Colts Nation, always talking about, oh, Matt Ryan's actually going to throw with the right hand, because Carson Wentz throwing those left-handers in his end zone, those aren't pretty. That's where that's when the hole went in the wall. So rough times, but Matt Ryan's not going to do that stuff. He's practical. He's going to be
smart,
right? And he's gonna get in these guys' ears if they're not doing the right thing, which is another big thing. So, yeah.
I honestly think the trade-off that happened this year with Matt Ryan going to the Colts and Carson Wentz going to the Redskins is going to yield its own results. And I know, like, a lot of people love to crap on Carson, but he doesn't have that much pressure going, and you're going to a great coach that's going to get his mind right. So outside of the things that I think. Right, Ron Rivera is one of the most overrated coaches ever, but I think he is a great locker room guy.
He's great. See,
player personnel guy.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off, but Frank Reich, I love Frank. He's creative, he's smart, and he's a big time players coach. My problem is he doesn't get in the ear. He doesn't really have that mentality of yelling at your players much. Just haven't seen it. On the sidelines, he doesn't show much emotion, but we know he has a lot. But I just want to see him be a little more hard on the players, and that's why I like Matt Ryan. That's why I'm happy about Matt Ryan, because he's going to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got a veteran guy all the way around that you're not going to need to coach a ton. He's been an MVP. He's been in the Super Bowl. He's the Falcons used to destroy that division all the time, man. It just is what it is. But here's the X factor. I know we mentioned everything about Jonathan Taylor, but this is the X factor. How he's going to practice against one of the best defenses. And they are one of the best defenses on paper. The Darius Leonards, you don't have Rock Ya-Sin, but you have Yannick Ngakoue, who's a very. I
wasn't a fan of Rock.
It's either you were or you weren't, from what I hear. But we'll get into that a little later because that's one of the questions I want to ask you: is who won that trade? But Yannick Ngakoue is a better run stopper than what people give him credit for. And then the secondary is decent. Like defensive line with DeForest Buckner is very, very good. Like, how they're going to practice against each other is iron sharpens iron, and I think that's the X factor to why I think he'll break the season the season total.
Yeah, The Colts have glued Stephon Gilmore onto Alec Pierce for training camp. I love that. Having a young receiver go up against Stephon Gilmore. When you get into the season, the number one corners are going to be on Pittman. Alec Pierce is going to go from playing Stephon Gilmore to 2 number 2 corners.
Yep. Exactly.
So I'm going to really like that and see how he does with that.